welcome to another episode of Minutes with M&M. I'm Mena, this is Missa, and we're very excited to have you here today. For people who haven't watched us before, we watch a lot of television, we have strong opinions, and we decided to put it on the internet so we can hear what you think and if you agree with us or not. If you do or you don't, we don't care, as long as you're engaging with us. Comment below, follow us on Twitter, it'll be a fun time. This week we're going to talk about one of the most popular tropes there is. You saw it in the title already, enemies to lovers. Look, this is Miss Anne's ministry. If you watch our videos, anytime it comes up, she's like, yeah, this is how it should be. And we're going to talk about what makes it work and what makes it not so great. Yeah, because it's done all the time. And honestly, you're right. It's probably, you know, it's up there in terms of tropes because there are some that just don't work out.
First thing that makes it work, I feel, like on the basic level, chemistry.
Oh, facts.
There needs to be chemistry. If you are my enemy and we also have zero chemistry and I'm trying to do I love you, it's giving bully, you know.
It's giving non-consensual.
Love bombing, like no.
No, you're totally right. There has to be chemistry in both scenarios. So when we're enemies, when I'm like, I want you to die, it needs to be hot and spicy. Everybody needs to be like, ooh, yeah, kill him. No, but seriously, because like, it's one thing to say you hate someone and then be like, oh, now I love them, but like there are no sparks between you. So now I feel like I've been gaslit as a observer of the romance.
Exactly.
So you're right. Chemistry is number one. Number two, the dynamic has to be like balanced. You can't have one person like hates the other person, has been trying to kill them for a decade, the other person has been running away, and now you're like, oh, now we love each other. That's not enemies to lovers. That's just an abusive relationship. That's what's it called? The Stockholm syndrome. Like there's no reason, there's no explanation. You've just been in an unfair dynamic for years, and now you're like, yeah, we love each other. It's really, really important for there to be equal footing between the two characters. And I think this is where a lot of shows and books fail, is the unequal dynamic. And then when you do that, it kind of goes from enemies to lovers to like bully to lovers, which you just mentioned. And that sometimes it works, cough, cough, sex education, ha ha ha. But does it
work? Does it work?
Adam and Eric are everything. But a lot of the time it comes across just, and you know what? Now that I said it, I feel like it happens a lot with like queer love stories where it's like, oh, I'm bullying you because I haven't come out of closet and I have to call out Glee for this because Karofsky was trying to murder Kurt, and then he was like kissing him. I'm like, oh, actually I like you. Like, no, it's no. I mean, thankfully the show didn't have them date, although spoiler alert, Karofsky does date Blaine later on, so you know that the Glee writers are on crack cocaine. But yeah, they need to be at the same place, so they need to hate each other equally. So like, you try and kill me, I try and kill you. It can't just be one way. As we're describing this, I'm really just thinking of Vampire Diaries with Caroline and Klaus. Like, at first she wasn't trying to kill him. Yes, at first he had the upper hand, but it was a little,
you know, when she would like lure him to the bar.
Exactly.
You know, when they finally like hatch another plan to kill him, and they're like, this time it would work. We have the white oak steak. It will work. How do we get him there? Caroline, please go and be sexy. And you see Klaus. It's as if all his sense has disappeared. Everybody, all her friends, her closest of friends, they've been plotting to kill you, and you're just there like, so love, how's your day going? Like, excuse me. And before you know it, he's trapped. Every time he falls for it.
I love it. And that's it. So like, it has to be coming from both ends, you know? Balance.
In Bridgerton, Kate and Anthony.
Yeah. We're both insulting each other. We're both saying mean things. It's equal.
I love that season so much. It was given. And I'm sorry to everybody involved. If you don't have sense to know that these guys didn't hate each other, I'm so sorry to you. Like, why are you so obsessed with me?
What I would say is third is that there has to be like a reasonable catalyst for the change. So obviously, like sometimes when we say enemies to lovers, they're not really enemies. They're kind of like antagonists. So like Kate and Anthony kind of like, they hate each other, but do they? But sometimes they fully go like, you are my mortal enemy. This happens a lot in like fan fiction, where it's fully like, you despise this person, and then by the end of the book they're in love and they're soulmates. Cool. The turning point has to make sense. You can't just hate someone today and now tomorrow you love them. The storyline progression has to make sense. And it can't just be rushed, you know. We can't have hated each other for 15 years and now, because of 2 days we spent in the woods, I realize I love you. I know it happens a lot with TV shows or with movies, especially, you know, timeline, you need to get to the end, you're already at 45-minute mark, you only have 30 minutes to wrap up the story. But when you do that, it doesn't necessarily flow as well. So there needs to be like an inciting one when you're watching, you're like, ooh, this thing just happened and I can see why the love is about to grow. Maybe he just saved your mom and you're like, there's a hat inside there.
Or maybe he just drove you to the beach.
Yeah.
To drop your father's ashes. And you're like, it's not that bad.
Like, that's very considerate. And you know he's scared of driving, but he did it anyway. Yes, we're talking about Ben and Devi from Never Have I Ever. Watch our video, watch our video.
Love them so much. But I do agree with what men are saying. Like, I think the best way to do it is just to show like little moments of like, this person is not bad.
Yes.
And you can see them losing sense. And then they snap out of it. They're like, no, this is my enemy. And then like continually like just keep showing. So like when it happens, you're like, okay, this person remembers all the other things.
100%. And Never Have I Ever is actually perfect where they are actually enemies at the beginning. And it's not just like, it's like I'm saying hurtful, mean things to you and I want you to fail. And at the end, it's like, yeah, we're meant to be. I think another important thing that needs to have, I talked about them being on equal footing, like in the hate, but also there needs to be at least a semblance of fairness when they're attracted to each other. There's nothing that kind of skews me out as much as when one person's like obsessed with the other and the other person is just kind of nonchalantly like, no, I still kind of hate you. Because again, it's giving sad loser. We need both of them, what you just said, where they're like, oh, you noticed them. I need both of them to be like doing secret glances at each other, you know?
I mean, with Klaus and Caroline, it took Caroline a while.
Yeah, but he was really bad.
Considering that he was killing her friends.
It can happen over time, you know, it doesn't have to be immediate, but like there has to be some level of reciprocity to it, especially because of where it starts from. Because there are certain dynamics that you start with one person pining over the other, like even like best friends to lovers. If one person really, really likes the other person, I mean, I don't like that trope generally, but if one person really likes the other and it takes the other person a while, it's kind of easier for me because there's already a foundation of care for each other. But it's weird when like we used to hate each other, now one person is like pining over the other and the other one isn't part of it. It just doesn't feel like love is happening. It's just, like, is that just me?
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe it's just me. I like reciprocity. I don't like one person just wanting to be with another person who's not feeling it.
I mean, it's not going to be enemies to lovers because in that case, the lovers, it hasn't arrived.
Oh no. Yeah, and that's why like I like there's it can be instant, but there's an amount of time that it can be okay. And like obviously with Klaus and Caroline, I'll leave you because vampires, you guys can live forever. So you can actually spend 200 years hating each other before you love each other. But with regular humans who live a normal lifespan, pick up the pace. Either you're both on it or we need to move on.
But another enemies to lovers, Damon and Elena. It took a while.
Did it
because
though?
Damon was pining from day one. You can't convince me that he wasn't, oh, all this, hello brother, I'm just here to check in on you. No, you saw his babe and you were like,
I mean, how long is long to you?
A long time.
Because it was like 2 years now.
Yeah, but like, you can't be pining after someone for 2 years.
I mean, again, you have to add the fact that to a vampire, 2 years that long. Also, she looks like the girl you were in love with. She's involved with your brother. It's very messy. It takes a while. Because even with that 2 years, it was still too quickly that they got together. Like, you were just with my brother.
Yeah.
It's just, But 2 years is a long time. So for normal people, okay, I think it also depends what our like eneminess is. So if our eneminess is just like, oh, we say mean things, yeah, 2 years is a long time. But like, Simone was murdering people, listen.
But he didn't murder her. Like, he was protecting her and...
I'm sorry.
Stefan killed people as well. I'm so sorry. I love their enemies to lovers so much. Because they had chemistry.
I like that you said chemistry first, because chemistry is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I will overlook a lot of rubbish for chemistry. Like, some things will make sense, but when you guys are in each other's arms, I'm like, oh, that's love.
Yeah, like Chuck and Blair. I mean, yes, he did some things. And yes, she did some things. But like, they were meant for each other.
They really were, because I can't even say it was even. Like, yes, they did things to each other, but Chuck so past, like, it was just a lot. But at least she tried. So yes, maybe she wasn't as horrible to him. And sometimes her horribleness was like indirect. For example, you picked Dan over me to run away from your husband. Like, sure, you didn't do an evil thing to me, but was that not cruel? Just a little bit. So I think they had chemistry. They were both into it at different times. What was so many say? I want to be with you. You don't want to be with me. You want to be with me, but I don't want to be with you.
It was just a lot, but I enjoyed it.
It was fun. I'm just best. I think those are like the 4 biggest things, because everything else can be worked around. Like, it doesn't matter when you were enemies, you know, it doesn't matter how long you were enemies. In fact, the longer you were enemies, the better. But obviously this only works for like supernatural creatures. I feel like I'm getting really into like, ooh, vampires and angels and demons. But storylines of, oh, we aren't working at each other's side. So no spoilers for Good Omens, and I'm not going to get into that. They're not enemies to lovers, but they've been at each other's side from the creation of time. Like, the longer it is, the more it feels like we have just been so drawn to each other. Even if it had to be hate, we had to be in each other's orbit. So sometimes it kind of slaps. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that there's something that makes enemies to lovers work better than other tropes? Or is there a thing that you think makes it really bad? Like, every time you see it, you're like, no.
To be honest, I'm not gonna lie. You know, we all like toxic relationships.
I don't know.
To a certain level. I think it's the back and forth. I think it's the, like, you know, when people mistake passion for like
hate?
Yeah. But it's like, that's what makes people feel like, these people really care about each other, because like they always bicker, like they always have their moments, but you know, they're partners in crime. That's the way people see it.
Yeah. And you know, it can also go back and forth. It can be like friends to enemies to lovers, enemies to friends, back to enemies for lovers. Sometimes, you know, we loved each other, but now we hate each other. Like, you know, like even when like a couple is really into each other, and then something happens and now we're like, we hate each other. I never want to see you again. That's my ex or my ex-friend. But now they have the chemistry, they have the passion. So, you know, like, we don't know when, we don't know what chapter, we don't know what season, but love is coming back, it's coming back.
It never left. They're just kidding themselves. And you know what I don't really like about enemies to lovers? The people who get caught in the crosshairs. Like, never have I ever, Ben's girlfriends, Davies people, whatever. Like, it's like, they just become side characters in their entire love story. And I like the journey of them finding each other, but it's also like, who are you kidding now that you are actually moving on and you are in a relationship? You're not kidding anyone. You can't tell her anything. You're just waiting till the next day of class so you can bicker with Devi again. Like, okay.
You know what? It's only an issue if they make them like a focal point of the show, because Mindy and Danny from the Mindy Project, it was everything. I will never forgive the writers for how that show ended. Screw you guys. But them getting together, it felt right. Like, I fully believe that Danny just did not see her as an equal person at the beginning of the show. He was just like, who's this airhead? And Minnie was just like, oh God, you're so mean and grumpy. But like, when they get together, you're like, oh yes, this is what I've been waiting for.
There was collateral damage. Like, she was dating Cliff at that point, and then she just apologized to him, and then he just accepted the apology, and but they had already done the thing. It was a lot, but the drama, like, I felt bad for Cliff, but like,
I was rooting for Mindy and Danny. It's just
like when they arrived and then he had to, you know, say goodbye to her, and he was in the elevator. He was like, I was like, oh no. Like, I'm so sorry. I think that's my favorite trope for that reason. Just feelings.
The feelings are big, but you know what? We love love. Anytime there's a scene with a show and people are getting, it's just like, oh. But I'm feeling the butterflies on your behalf, and it makes me happy. So you don't watch Friends. At a point, Ross was dating, I'm not going to mention the name of the character in case you ever watch it, but Ross is dating a character for quite a while, honestly. And then she gets with someone else, literally right in front of Ross, and the guy's like, you know, I've always loved you. And she's like, oh my God, I want to be with you too. And Ross is just like, I'm your man. And she's kind of like, well, we're broken up. And it's funny because it's a comedy and it's a sitcom, but that's literally the perspective of the outside person, where you think you're dating someone and then they realize they have feelings for this other person that's always been in their orbit, and you're kind of like, where do I go here now? What do I do with the realization that I've just been a prop? And yeah, I only care when it's couples I'm not rooting for.
Really?
Yeah, so like in Grey's Anatomy, we put up Grey's Anatomy so much, but Matthew, I feel so bad for Matthew.
But that was best friends to lovers.
No, so it's so I'm leaving the trope more about the person getting hurt. So just in general, I only care about the person hurt if I dislike the couple. If I like the couple, so for example, Rose, when Derek breaks up with her to be with Miranda, I'm like, okay, bye. It's just, if I'm rooting for your love, everyone else is just an obstacle to be passed by for
They are human beings with feelings. I think I'm less. It's painful regardless, but in like best friends to lovers or friends to lovers, it doesn't feel too out of the ordinary because it's like you said you should have seen.
No, but
if you're telling me you hate someone and I'm believing you that you hate them, and there's more, you leave me for this person that you hate. There's nothing I could have done to see this coming.
Isn't that better though?
How?
Isn't it better to be like, I couldn't have seen this coming, I couldn't have stopped it from happening, than to be like, wow, so I'm a fool.
You know what?
Because no, you know, all these, oh, this is my best friend. Oh my god, I like you so much. I want you to like me. You're my partner's best friend. I want us to get along. I want us to have a good relationship. And now my baby is running out of the altar with you. No, because I'm a mug. I'm a fool. I don't know. Obviously, it sucks to be the third wheel in a relationship, and that's why. Honestly, that's why love triangles is my least favorite thing. Other than the indecisiveness of it all, the fact that someone is going to get hurt and now this person is just getting dragged along for the whole time. Especially because a lot of shows, a lot of books, a lot of movies is very like, you were the one, you were always the one. I just didn't see you were the one. Sam, what about me that was here not being the one?
So how do you feel about Teddy, Owen, Christina?
I think, okay, so with that, I have a bit more grace because it's behind the scenes more. Like, if Christina doesn't leave the show, Teddy and Owen never get together for real. He was always
sure?
Yes, 100%.
I'm sorry, the writers would have changed their mind.
Someone that wasn't even on the show, when remember that Teddy left in season 8. If Christina never leaves the show, there's not really incentive to even bring Teddy back because there's no one to pair her off with.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because he picks Christina and then Teddy has Henry and then Teddy hates. Sorry guys, if you don't care about Grey's Anatomy, that was a whole tangent. So because of the behind the scenes stuff, I can kind of let it go. But it's when the writer goes into it with the knowledge. So like, I know this why. So like Twilight. You knew that you were gonna put her with Edward. There was no chance in hell that Jacob was gonna end up with Bella. But you just did this for shits and giggles. I mean, I don't like Jacob, so I'm fine with it. Edward and Bella for life.
Yeah, it's just in situations where I hate to be that person, but like with Teddy and Owen, when they were best friends from the army, I was like, okay, there's a certain level of like, you can have friends, yes, but like now Teddy's telling you, oh, just not, I know he's being somehow, but I understand, but let me tell you, excuse me, and like they're giving each other eyes and they're like, at what point am I supposed to be like, am I a fool in this?
But do you feel the same way about Meredith, Alex, and Joe? Because Alex spent the whole of season 12 saying, oh, it's just that's just how Meredith is. We have to take care of her. This one, you know, something will happen. Meredith is the one going to go and meet Alex. So
I don't feel the same way because it's not like they had feelings for each other. It's not like.
But no, Christina didn't know that. Like, Christina didn't know that when Christina finds out that Owen has feelings, that's when she's like, okay, this needs to stop. But before that, she's like, oh, this is just your friend. Because, like, just imagine Alex just one day starts kissing Meredith. It's like, oh my god, it's always been you. Just imagine. Like, would you tell Joe, well, he kicked you out of the bed for her, so you should have seen it coming.
That's fair.
Sometimes some people's friendships are unorthodox. You can't always know.
I'm sorry, let's be serious about this thing. Let's just draw boundaries in our friendships. Anyways.
Point being, enemies to lovers is, I think it excels because it takes away from the gray areas, like you said. Like, you're less likely to be in a situation where you're like, oh, of course you're probably in love. No, because you've been trying to shoot him for the whole. That's what makes Mr. and Mrs. Smith slap, you know? It's the whole, I'm trying to get you, but oh, we're so sexy together. Not excited to watch the reboot, by the way. It doesn't look great. Anyway, our point is, we like the trope. She loves the trope, and it can be done really well and has been done really well. What do you guys think? Do you like the trope? What shows, movies, books did you see enemies to lovers in and you were like, I'm hooked, I'm buying this, I'm sold?
Yeah, and if you don't like the trope, well, let me know why in the comments. I'm going to judge you because you're wrong. That's the best trope ever. But you know, you can make your case in the comments. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, maybe you have some salient points that we haven't thought about. No. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow us on Twitter. Our handle is in the description, so take a look below. But yeah, thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.